It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
I basically have forgotten that that's a part of what we do on this podcast.
Good luck.
Welcome to NOCLIP. I'm Chad Rutherman.
I'm JJ Martinez.
And I'm Andy Kinney.
And today, strap on your flight suits, amputate your own legs, and get ready to pilot your R-Wing, because we're talking about Star Fox 64. Which was a game released in 1997 on the Nintendo 64, as the name would imply. And obviously it was developed and published by Nintendo.
Of course.
So, we all have some pretty good, childhood memories.
I have none.
Of Star Fox 64, except for Andy. Yes. But I do at least want to take the beginning of this to at least briefly gush about the 3DS version, which I just played for the first time, and is just so good.
So, for clarification, we're talking about both.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're talking about Star Fox 64 in that we're not talking about Star Fox, the Super Nintendo game. But because the game, it is effectively just a remake, anything that's relevant to the 3DS version is likely also relevant to the N64 version. I played both before coming in here, because
I as well.
it's super easy to go through. Not easy necessarily, but short. So it's not like a huge thing to just play both versions. I ended up playing the 3DS version a bunch, but I don't know. I did just want to gush, I guess, because I liked it so much. The fact that it has a save game, and the graphics are updated, and everything is just good and better. I guess the only issue that I really have with it, from an outstanding thing, is that the 3D version is sort of purported as the main version of the game, and it is baby mode.
Wait, what? What 3D version?
It breaks it into two versions. There's 3DS mode and N64 mode.
Oh.
Yeah. And the 3DS mode is, just for babies.
What does it do?
They rebalanced it. They just, made the enemies deal less damage to you, and, spaced things out there. The encounters are slightly different.
Oh, the purpose of 3DS mode is to account for the gyro controls.
Yeah. I tried that, as you can imagine.
Yeah, don't try that.
I was not a big fan.
I don't think I ever even tried the 3DS mode. I just always played it in 64 mode.
We are intense elite gamers.
Yeah.
Intense elite skills, so it's necessary.
Yeah. What I'd also really like, at least for the purposes of doing this podcast, is there's a score attack mode, which, in the context of me not caring about actively trying to get on a leaderboard or something, is a great way to just pick a level and replay it without having to go through the whole main game again, which is super nice.
Yeah, that was good. Particularly since the structure of the game sort of incentivizes individual level mastery, because a lot of the important permanent progression, specifically in the N64 version, if there's more progression than this, other than the hour-and-a-half story, you guys will have to remind me. You want to go for the medals so often,
right?
Since you need all of them to be able to unlock a lot of additional content afterwards, that having to spend an hour continuously trying to get to the endless train level over and over again to try and master using the land master is really quite a chore.
Yeah, that's and that's so unlike modern Nintendo design philosophy, where there's actually a lot of content in Star Fox that is not heavily advertised, and it takes a lot of effort to get to it.
Well, I think it's because the way this game's just designed overall, it's got more of an arcadey kind of feel to it, where it's you are meant to play it in one sitting. They base the narrative around that, where it's got branching pathways, so it incentivizes you to play it more. It's multiple times to see all the different paths and how they turn out.
Yeah, that's we're veering just to talking about strictly N64 is the branching pathways was such a good idea, because it does allow the fact that the story is short allows you to replay the game for those for narrative reasons if you so choose, but also getting the true ending, the seeing Andros's true form, actually requires like a level of skill that you have to like practice and get good with the game to achieve.
True, but I mean, it's not. You don't want to get to the hard path, hard because essentially, I forget if it's canon called that anywhere or it's just like the red line. You make the connection that it is the hard path, but it's a mechanical challenge. Like, it's the reason you want to be there isn't like to try and see the resolution of the Star Fox team's saga. You do it because it's an arcade game and you want to see more content in the arcade game that you're playing. And there's a lot of really distinct different content in all the levels, specifically in the hard versions as well. The secret big quotes underwater level, the level where you defend the Great Fox, and you're constantly in all range mode. Like,
Sector Z.
Yeah, that's it.
Sector Z is like, I think like the most notorious Star Fox 64 level.
In what way?
Like, just based on what people like talk about, like the childhood like feeling of having the Great Fox's entire wing fucking blown off of the side of it when you fail.
Right.
Just sucks so bad, and especially since it's the last like path that you can fail to get the true ending on. So if you're going for Venom 2 and you end up in Sector Z, if you fuck up, you go to Bolts, which takes you to Venom 1, and if you don't, then you go into the Venom airspace and then into Venom 2. So, yeah, it's a lot of shattered dreams of childhood when Great Fox got hit by a missile.
Because the whole thing is done in all-range mode as well, it gives you a whole lot of room to screw up.
Yeah.
More than a lot of the other sort of on-rails components of the levels. And it's even
I
more
feel like that level's one of the easiest ones in the game.
Well, in retrospect, I don't think very many of these levels are actually hard unless you're playing on expert mode.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, yeah, but it is, I guess, maybe not as hard as people make it out to be, but I don't know. It definitely has... Failure has the most, like, daunting implications.
Because failure in that case isn't actually a failure. You don't crash. You aren't shot down. You're failing to accomplish like a specific defensive goal. If you had an infinite amount of time to shoot down the missiles, you could and would, in the same way that you have like an infinite amount of time in most of the bosses, but you don't have that.
It's made even easier if you get Kat to show up. She helps you out.
Oh, yeah. I forget what path you take to get that.
It's the
just
top
the standard
path,
top path. Yeah.
You have to... She shows up on... What's the level with, like, the polluted water? Like the...
Zonus.
Yeah, Zonus.
Yeah. You have to, like, do some kind of objective with her.
Right. That's the one we have to take out the searchlights.
Yeah.
That's the most irritating one to me. Either that or the changing the signals on Macbeth to get the train to go the other way. Are definitely the most irritating for me, because it's like, you just don't want to miss them.
Yeah, it is easy to fuck up the searchlights whenever, like, the sea monster is going through the water.
Yeah.
And get you nearby.
That's one of the things that I did on this most recent several playthroughs, because I just got the 3DS version and wanted to unlock all of the levels for replay, and I wanted to go the warp path in Meteos, and that fucking like ring thing is the most irritating goddamn thing in the world. I had to try that like 5 or 6 times to get it. I felt like a dang fool.
But of course it is only irritating insofar as it's a goal that you set up for yourself that you fail to accomplish.
Sure. But then if you want to do it, you have to kill yourself. And they made the boss of Meteos like, well, you could reset. But if you kill yourself, then you go back to the checkpoint.
Oh, I was wondering what you meant by that.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you go back to the checkpoint, then you can try again.
You can just pause the menu and restart, and it takes the life off either way.
I think that if you pause and restart, it goes back to because I think that's what I did the first time, and you have to go back to the beginning of the level.
Meh.
Yeah. If that's not true, then I'm just dumb.
I haven't, like, played anything but the top path in a while, because I think it's just the best. It has the best levels.
That's not
but,
true.
like, do you guys have a preferred path?
I like so many levels in this game.
Yeah.
But
My preference is normally a hard path, but I'll skip Sector Z, go to the train level, and then back to the Planetary Defense Force on Venom 2.
Man, I like Macbeth, the train level.
Yeah.
Not the play. Just for the guy in the train, his voice acting is just so good. But other than that, I don't like the Landmaster levels that much.
I hate the Landmaster
And
levels.
I much prefer Titania to Macbeth in terms of actual gameplay. Plus, it has that cool boss at the end.
The skeleton creature?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Why do you
creepy.
dislike the Landmaster? I know it's a generalized opinion that's often stated about Star Fox games at all times. Anytime you're not in the ship, it sucks. But
I think it controls like ass. I don't know how to say it better than that. I think the controls are absolute garbage.
why? What are you failing? What do the controls make it hard or keep you from doing?
It makes movement hard. It makes shooting hard. Everything that should feel natural and easy feels like I'm fighting the controls the whole time.
What movement specifically then? Let's say what makes movement difficult?
It just. Trying to think. It's been a while since I played it because I hate it so much.
Right, you just avoid the Landmaster levels.
Because you're limited as the Landmaster. Unlike, at least I'm trying to remember now.
I think
the
your
difference
side to
is
side movement is wonky.
Your side-to-side movement's really weird because you have very limited control over the amount that you can move in one direction, because if you want to quickly go from left to right, the best way to do it is to do the
barrel
roll, and when you do the roll, it goes a set distance, and then if you overshoot, you have to correct yourself if you're gonna hit something.
Yeah. And then I feel the hover thing is weirdly floaty.
Yeah. Well, the hover thing
it's
is
supposed
really,
to be weirdly floating.
Yeah. The hover thing is very difficult to time properly unless you're very used to it. It's not something that feels natural, because it's not like a jump. You have to you see the thing and you have to plan to get over it. But because you're always shooting things that are in the air, the camera is directly behind you on the ground. So when you're approaching something that you need to get over, you can't see it unless you've already cleared it. So it makes judging your depth of field really kind of unnaturally weird to do.
I would
It's something you
unnatural.
don't have to deal with in the R-Wing.
Right. I feel unnatural is the best word to describe the controls of the R-Wing.
It's only unnatural if you compare it to the R-Wing, I think. 'Cause
disagree.
I think their goals are really explicit.
I
They were
think-
trying to make a version of Star Fox in which gravity came into play. Because when you're in the Landmaster levels, you no longer have free up and down movement. You have it in a limited form in terms of the boosters, but it's an intentionally not very responsive, very slow, and hard to control. And the second you release it, you slam back to the ground because you're this big metal ball. Unlike the R-Wing levels where your reticule leans back toward the center, and this time it leans toward the ground, again simulating sort of a gravity effect. They're moving the center at which you're having to move around the screen, at which in both arcade shooters like this and first-person shooters generally is always centralized on the screen, way lower than you normally expect. And I can understand why that's weird, but I think it was an intentional goal on their part.
I'm not even saying that I dislike it in comparison to the R-Wing. I don't mind the idea of the Landmaster. I think it could be done well. I think that on its own, the controls are just bad.
You just move left and right.
But it doesn't feel natural. It doesn't... there's something... I can't give specifics because I haven't done it in so long. There's something about it that, it just doesn't work I think it feels like it should. I think if you took the R-Wing completely out of the equation,
Right.
you could have a game that's just the Landmaster, a rail shooter with just a tank, and it had those controls.
You feel that has to have been an arcade game
Probably.
too.
No one would like it because the controls are just bad, I think. It would be an obscure game that no one likes.
And yeah, it would be a game that has a niche community
Yeah.
that just likes to play it a lot.
Dude, unless one of you guys articulate better what you mean by bad, then I
I
can't
never
even participate.
I never even said bad. I was just saying my specifics were your left and right movement is too set in distance, and the hover mechanic is difficult to master. Land master. Otherwise, I think that both Titania and Macbeth are well-designed levels. They utilize the tank to the best of its ability, but it's just not... It feels like it wants to be a difference in kind, but at the same time you are still just firing lasers and bombs at things at a targeting reticle in the center of the screen while moving forward at a set pace. And it's the only difference is that you feel more hindered.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, the ground environments are not natural to, steer around, really.
Yeah, and I always feel like my vision feels restricted in the Landmaster as well.
That's because the bottom 25% of the screen is just taken up by ground. It's just, brown.
Yeah, it's like shit's
lines.
coming at you, from the top of the screen. It's
I mean, there are ground targets on levels. You are fighting against, other tanks in Titania. And you have a pretty constant ground target in the tank, excluding all the other things that were on rails, literally in that level.
I always liked in Macbeth because you can blow up the truck full of rocks that are on all the train cars.
Dude, you don't blow up the truck full of rocks because you shoot the rocks for points and then you blow up the rockless truck.
That's true, but if you want to play it easy mode, you blow up the train first.
Reminds me, why does this game have points?
What?
The arcade nature of it.
Yeah, I feel like it just has to for that.
Just as a trope, it just has to because it fits the trope.
Yeah, it's I'm making an
I think
arcade
they
game.
want there's gonna be people, because it's an arcade style game, they're gonna want to replay the levels and go for a high score. Because it lends itself to that.
Yeah, and I feel like they have to have some marketing evidence for that, considering the existence of the score attack mode in the remake. Because there isn't a score attack mode in the first one, you have to just play through the game again.
Yeah.
To get to whatever level you want.
But at the very least, the score attack mode, like I explained earlier, has the utility of giving you the level-by-level replays that were lacking in the original.
Yeah, but that's not how it's marketed, though.
Yeah.
It's not like a level select. It's score attack. And I mean, it has the medals, and it has, unlockables based on it. I don't know. I think the score is, an overall positive thing. I mean, we were talking just the other day about how you, JJ, wanted to, beat George.
Yeah, the scores, in my case, were, a very set-up goal, since, I had, a specific person that I was trying to beat. And that was fun, but it really was the first time I approached the game from, a trying to get, the highest score possible perspective, because the game is very good about giving you, alternative paths and ways to go on other goals other than just, shoot every enemy as efficiently as possible.
Which I'm not even convinced that that's possible.
What do you mean?
You can't. This game doesn't have 100% run, right? There's just an impossible amount of enemies on screen, right?
Oh, not 100%, but that's mostly because of the pre-Venom 2 when you're in space. I'm pretty sure it's impossible for you to hit every enemy in that level. Because people are still getting progressively better. Actually, I googled afterwards, to look up what you do if you wanted to maximize score in this game.
Right.
Turns out the thing that you do is use almost exclusively charge shots. Hold down both L and R so that the charge shots do not lock on to the target, and then precisely fire charge shots so that the aura, a little explosion part, hits them, but not the charge shot itself.
That's really weird.
Yeah, you get the way that evidently they kept this in the 3DS release, which is cool, and they even start talking about it when you go between load screens and stuff. So
Can I make
If
a
you watch
guess?
the developer commentary.
Yeah. Can I make a guess as to what because I know that if you lock on at least with a charge shot and hit an enemy, and the explosion kills another enemy, you get a hit +2, so you get the kill plus an additional point for the multi-kill, and then the number of kills that you get.
Yeah, it's +1 if you just hit one person in the second.
So does it lock the one gimme kill even if you don't hit someone with the charge shot?
Yeah, it's the +1 is not it isn't in a smart way take into account it's one more than what you would have normally hit. What it does is just if a thing was hit by the radius of the charge shot, it's a +1 now.
Oh, wow.
So if you can only hit things with the radius, you get double points from kills.
That's crazy town.
Yeah. So you'll have people who are going through levels who, for example, will get like over 700 points on like the pre-Venom 2 space level.
That's a bunch of points.
Yes.
That's like almost as many points as I got in a full run.
Yeah.
And yeah, you saw my Chad A+ score was 918, which is, I mean, I guess fairly low.
I think mine's 800 something.
Yeah.
I've never been like a go for the high score kind of guy.
The aforementioned score that I had to beat was 1200, and the score that I got to beat it was 1358. So, yeah,
that's really good.
I love Star Fox.
Yeah.
This is probably also relevant
JJ
context
loves
needed.
Space Foxes.
I don't like I play it all the time, and by play it I mean play games with space foxes. It's only a rare thing that I do. It was actually the game that got me into video games, at least as far as I can remember, which is interesting given that I don't really like arcade games, and though I'm okay with shooters, I have no real affinity for shooters. It's just a strange aberration in my history in that it's something that I really enjoy and have a lot of fun memories for, but has almost no interest through line to the other things about games that I enjoy.
Right.
I actually kind of in a similar boat. I have no nostalgia for this game. First time I ever played it was the 3DS version. But it's not like other games that I would like at all, but I really like this game.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a testament to how well... This is something that Nintendo is, strangely good at, is that they'll take just a concept or a genre of a game and sort of, when they're not, inventing genres in the 80s, they then can take, something and just give it a spin that just appeals to a lot of people. I would never say that this is, among the best, rail shooters,
yeah.
or, anything, the best, sci-fi games,
Right.
but, it takes elements of those, genres and tropes and just does them in a way that's, readily accessible to a lot of people and also, stands up to, scrutiny and repeat playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very good about... It's good at what it does, but it doesn't, appeal specifically to genre fans.
Am I correct in my belief that rail shooters as a genre are pretty dead in the industry?
They're largely very dead, yes.
I don't know if dead's the right word, but they don't get made very often.
Sure. I don't know if dead's the right word.
Well,
More
dead,
decomposed completely.
Dead implies that they don't make them anymore at all.
Right.
I mean,
I know there's a surprising number of them on the Wii because it lent itself to that.
Yeah.
But
You even had the gun
Yeah, the
peripheral,
zapper.
which was great. Yeah.
What the zapper, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But I mean, we live in the indie age, so you will find whatever specific pandering genre you want if
Right.
you look deep enough.
Mm-hmm. Man, I wonder if anybody's made a Mr. Mosquito clone.
Don't know what you're talking about. Not gonna ask because we'll save that for the Mr. Mosquito
Mosquito
cast.
cast.
That will never be.
Well, we'll see. So you were talking about rail shooters.
Yeah. I wanted to know because, like I said before, this is just such a weird relic in so many ways. I'm curious how many parts of the original Star Fox 64 were intentional choices, and how much of it was just perfunctory choices. Why did Nintendo actually sit down and think, we want to make a rail shooter? Why are we making a rail shooter and go off of that, or do they just do that because video games?
Nintendo, I might be giving them a little too much credit here because I love Nintendo, but it seems like whenever you hear people talk about their process, it's they come up with a gameplay concept and then they go make all their other decisions based on that,
Mm-hmm.
the way you should do it.
Right.
So I would be willing to guess that that's what they did with this game.
Yeah. Have you played Star Fox, the SNES game?
No, I've never played the SNES Star Fox.
Okay. The way the games do actually play surprisingly similarly. Star Fox 64 feels a lot like a very polished version of that game, which is effectively what it is. But a big thing about it is that game was designed a lot as a technical thing.
Yeah,
the
a tech
Super-
demo.
the
Right,
Super
because
FX chip.
because they had just come up with the ability to do all of the cool 3D effects and stuff, and I feel like that's kind of what started it, and designing that game, like Star Fox 64 didn't have any like fresh new like game idea concepts behind it. It was all like it was just like bringing back a game that people already liked and making it better.
Yeah.
So
and it also, I'm correct in thinking that it also functioned as that sort of like partial tech demo thing within the context of the N64 as well, to some extent, right?
Yeah.
It was like a hyped first-party title that for its time was like very, very, very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which unexpectedly leads me into a point that I wanted to make, which is that this game, despite being at least unique for like the audience that received it, and how well regarded it is, it's not like influential in as much as like there weren't any like Star Fox clones that came out around the time, and the game didn't even get properly sequelized. We spent the majority of today talking about Star Fox Command and Adventures and Assault, and all of these games that took weird detours from what made the original game so successful. Yeah. And I'm wondering what like the justification for that is.
My guess would be that you also hear Nintendo talk about this stuff, is they don't want to just make a sequel. Like, they always want to come up with some new idea that they can implement. And I think that they've just been struggling with that with Star Fox. Like, they keep trying to pass it to like a different team to develop, and it like never works out.
Because it never had like a unique mechanical identity that they could innovate on.
Right.
It was sort of like the identity on tech demo was an impressive thing to exist that used a bunch of very comfortable tropes. But okay, now that I'm saying this, because it seems like overly critical in context, the game is very optimized for the like arcadey structure that it's designed to emulate. We already talked about how the amount of like diversity in like repeat one-sitting playthroughs that you can have was clearly intentionally designed, and something like that doesn't exist in other arcade games. Like if you go through like the Street Fighter set, you're for the most part, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're going to be going through the same fights in the same order. If you go through the Ninja Turtle games, you're going through the same levels in the same order, and the diversity is just supposed to come from either you getting so much better at the game so you can overcome the challenge and experience something new the next time, or B, just differences in the circumstances of the games based on either like having other players or something literally different, like going completely wrong over the course of your single playthrough. But there's less room for that sort of diversity in Star Fox in like individual levels. Like you're in a rails shooter, and the power-ups are always going to be in the same place every time. Right. But it's how things carry through, like the different routes that you can go, the different people that you can encounter, and how those chain together into a full hour and a half playthrough that provide those differences that they can just keep creating new versions of.
Right. So, I guess then, and we'll talk about like its influence on, like the fact that other games didn't really pick up on like the popularity of it. But in talking about sequels, well, it does seem like that is something that is difficult to like iterate on, barring just making new levels. Yeah. Now, on the advent of Star Fox Zero, do we think that Nintendo just thinks it's been like long enough? Like it's been 20 years. We can make effectively another of the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of that, and they have come up with a couple of new, like enough, like not on the level of what they would normally do.
Wait, what's the new thing you're referring to?
They came up with a new mode for the R-Wing.
The chicken?
Yeah.
That's not new.
It's not new?
It was actually a panned idea they had when they were developing Star Fox 2 before they created N64.
Oh, well, it's new to the series.
Right.
Sure. I'm just saying it's an idea they had since
There's also
the 90s.
the gyro wing.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a probe that you can send into like an enemy ship, and it drops down like a Rob robot that can do like, it could hack, like R2-D2 hack.
Okay. It's an astromech droid, basically.
Yeah.
Alright. So,
and I know that you can use multiple vehicles in the different levels. So you're like, I'm going to do this level, I want to do it the Landmaster run. I think, like, I don't know if you could do the whole game this way, but I know, like, there's certain levels where you can pick which vehicle you use.
Right. Which I think is, an amazing
I think they're just doing what they did, like, from the difference from Star Fox on the Super Nintendo to 64 is they're just tweaking it.
It sounds like they're trying to up their
polish
level
it.
design because they already tried the like primary gimmick being you can attack on all fronts: land, sea, air, ground.
Right.
Yeah, even standing on the wing of another flying ship with a rocket launcher was a thing that existed in Star Fox Assault.
Right. I don't think that came back in this one.
No, it did not. But that wouldn't. Just adding like more differences in like approach, assuming that it's still linear, which it was in Assault. There were times when you needed to be in the ship, and times when you needed to be on the ground. The game was, even though you could technically just like keep running around on the ground if you wanted to, you would lose. And it just sounds like they're trying to get better at making levels that can just be beaten through all these different approaches, which I can get behind.
Yeah, I think that is a goal that they have,
Yeah.
and I think they aim to bring back like the feel of 64 as well.
Yeah. And frankly, I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people were just saying, like, why not just make Star Fox 64 too? Like,
essentially.
Like, every time a new Star Fox game comes out, it's like, there has to be, like, a guy on staff at Nintendo that just shreds hate mail. Like, like a dude whose entire job...
He just has like a stack of papers that say make Pokemon Snap 2.
Right.
And a stack that say
make Star Fox 64 2. And he just puts them through the shredder as they come in. I'm sure they tally them to see how many people...
Localize Mother 3.
Yeah.
You know, like...
Christ. Yeah, that's like the byproduct of being a company with such a large fan base
And international differences between your release.
They
products.
decided to finally answer that hate mail.
One of them got through the filter. The first line of the email was like, "We really liked Skyward Sword," and they were like, "Oh, pass it on to the higher ups."
It's like the guy who's in charge of shredding the papers really hates Star Fox. Like he's kept all these papers in a closet, and like Miyamoto like finally stumbled upon all of them.
It's like no,
it's like man, I thought everybody hated
Star Fox 64. Miyamoto's never been on the internet. Like.
The paper shredder guy looking into the other room just be like, yeah, Blue Fox in a bikini, that's the direction you should go with the series. Keep that up.
That's how Miyamoto stays so original.
Yeah.
He never gets on the internet.
He can't accidentally take somebody's idea.
Yeah.
That's how he ended up with Chibi Robo.
Okay. Climb out of the hole. Grab the falling rocks.
So this literally just may have no discussion at all attached to it.
Yeah.
But I at least want to pose the question: have either of you two ever played or even heard about, like, a quote unquote Star Fox 64 clone, like a game that plays like not an intense rail shooter, like a space shooter with that sort of like console Nintendo aesthetic.
The closest thing I'm even aware of, and is stupid and a non-cast thing because I forget the name of it. It's like the worst possible thing you can discuss. But there was one series of games which I believe only had 2 iterations. The first one I think was also an N64 game, and the second was I think a Wii game that they had like some press running about it. That was a rail shooter in which you played like a person with an arm cannon, and it's a trophy in Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Metroid Prime.
No.
Mega Man.
Mega Man.
The only thing I can think of...
Sin and Punishment?
Oh, that sounds
Is that
exactly it?
Where did that come from?
That game's supposed to be really good.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Wii version, anyway.
Yeah, but no one paid attention to it because it had like a weird, like future anime aesthetic that wasn't unique enough to differentiate.
I actually kind of want to play that game.
But yeah, that is the closest thing I have in that it is futuristic. It is a rail shooter. There are lasers, but you are just like a person with rocket boots in a city, as far as I'm aware. So,
right. Well,
the only thing that I can think of to compare is like Rogue Squadron.
You're right, but Rogue Squadron, Rogue Squadron is more of like a flight simulator.
Right.
This is the
Or
thing
wait, isn't there one that's like more like Star Fox?
Yeah, you're confusing the different, like, there is the simulator one, which is like X-Wing for the original PC games.
Oh, no,
Rogue Squadron is like a GameCube Star Wars game. I think that it came out at
That was actually the game that I was thinking of that had the number 1 score on every level was Ace.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing I could even think of.
Good pull. That's much
Yeah.
better than mine.
Because I feel like it's even in like the honest trailers for Star Fox is that Star Fox borrowed a bunch from Star Wars, and then Star Wars stole all those ideas back when they decided to make games.
Yeah. I guess I don't know why. Like, I don't know. I just got the impression that it was like Star Fox was such like a huge thing, and then like I never saw anything of that like caliber out of the genre for a while. But I might just be like completely overlooking some good rail shooter
There's
because I'm
probably
not a part of
something
that.
that's like it.
Yeah.
Continuing the trend of questions that may lead to nothing interesting. Do we know why rail shooters as a thing are dead?
It's not as in like. I feel like
it was the shift towards like more narrative-driven games, probably.
Sure.
But I mean, like now people are starting to like even like poo-poo on narrative-driven games a lot. But so I wouldn't be surprised to see them kind of resurge at some point.
I mean, we can agree that rail shooters do have a lot of possibility space for like narrative interaction, right? I mean, you're literally on rails.
Yeah. Like, they could just present you with things at the pace that they desire.
Yeah.
The thing with rail shooters, I think, is that people see, like, the market wants to push toward games where you have full control, because that's something that seems to do well. But, like, the House of the Dead, like, Sega is still making that series.
Yeah, House
like,
of the Dead is super fun.
Yeah, like, Overkill came out in, I want to say 2014, and then they even made a Typing of the Dead variation on that one.
Mm.
So, like, there's definitely an audience for it, and I, for one, like, always have enjoyed rail shooters, like from the aspect of, like, it allows you to focus entirely on, like, your aiming, like, the precision aiming, as opposed to like having to manage movement as well. So it's like a very different experience than like a traditional 3D shooter.
But you have to manage movement. But you manage movement within the context of the screen. You're not imagining yourself in like a 3D place that you have to sort of construct the parts you don't see in your mind. You just have your ship on screen and you just move it independently within the confines of that screen.
Right. But that which forces you to focus more on like the mechanics of like the aiming and shooting as opposed to running around and traversing there.
Maybe it's that a lot of the genre, like to like an onlooker anyway, seems kind of samey.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I feel
how many Time Crisis games
I was
are there? I
thinking
couldn't
of,
tell you the difference between any of them.
I was thinking of that shoot 'em ups are also kind of a genre that's faded away as well, but those games are also fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it about those? And it's like, maybe it's because they feel kind of samey.
Yeah, that's one thing, like, I've definitely seen a lot of indie shoot 'em ups, though not like really good ones. I've definitely played some that are alright. Rail shooters just do seem like they're just not. There are not a lot of people making this stuff.
Maybe it could also factor in. It's just like the idea of being in like a 3D environment and not having like full range of movement seems weird.
I think both
to
of
players.
you are on the right track. I think it was the push for like active player control once you got into the kind of games where you had the ability to do that. You didn't have to like very as tightly control like when you're encountering these like 3D set pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which is probably
was
why
big.
they tried to implement so many ground sections in Assault.
That does make sense in context because you could look around different directions. And move within those 3D
I think we're onto
spaces.
something.
Yeah, that explains the push because a lot of the there were levels of Assault where you had to they were sort of like open in a sense, and you had to go through all three different forms. I remember there was a jungle level in that game where you could like you had to independently switch between like covering the air, moving around on the ground, and then like exploring weird temples when you get out of the tank.
You have to use the boost to get through.
I know actually.
You actually used the brick.
You did use the park a lot.
So I'm just gonna I'm gonna put out a call. I'm gonna say somebody should design like an independent, narrative-driven rail shooter.
Yeah.
At some point, I will buy it. Day one perch.
Day one perch.
There's room there. There's cool space you can go with that.
Mm.
Bonus points if you don't have a gun.
Yeah. That's weird.
How are you gonna not have a gun?
It's
I don't
a rail shooter.
Well, yeah, but that just mandates a target.
What if it's a
Is
rail?
it specifically not like a gun that shoots bullets? Can it be like a ray gun?
Not a ray gun either.
Can it be like a Splatoon ink gun?
Yeah, can it be an ink gun?
Can
If
it be a
it has
drive-by
similar-
fence painter
What about a bow and arrow? Would that be acceptable?
who's having like marital issues, and
Okay.
that's where the story
Okay.
comes?
It has to
What
have...
about if you're like a paper boy that throws newspapers?
I'm just saying there should be mechanical differences. Just not a point-and-click death device. Newspapers would work.
A paper
What if
boy
you-
is already.
What if you
dead.
had to like hit people really hard with them and like give them
And
concussions?
kill them?
Yeah, with newspapers.
Like, you throw a newspaper, but the newspaper's really small and made of metal. And when it goes through somebody's head, it leaves a huge exit wound on every side.
Do you also not deliver the papers? Is
What
that
if
all
you
you're
like,
doing?
What if you
Yeah,
like threw
no, yeah.
swords at people?
Right.
That'd be fun.
And also, you find the newspapers out of a gun.
Yeah, a newspaper gun.
We should take a break.
Oh, what if a game where you're like a mascot at like a baseball stadium? You shoot the hot dog gun.
What?
That's people.
It's a hot dog?
I don't think there's a hot dog.
There's
gun.
no
Have you
hot
guys?
dog
Have neither
gun.
of you ever been to a baseball game?
They shoot T-shirts out of those guns.
They also shoot hot dogs out of guns. As well.
That seems unsafe.
That seems, yeah.
Well, yeah. The whole idea of like getting like one of those hot dogs is disgusting as hell to me because they're probably like filled with bugs or something.
All of them? You think they're...
No, but I mean like.
I'm postponing the break until we figure this out.
But no, they do. They shoot hot dogs out of like a gun into the audience.
Are they wrapped in foil?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because otherwise they would,
I'm unsure that makes this better in any way.
Well, because they're now like a packed projectile, the same way that they used to like pack shots in cannons. In,
No
like, the Civil
projectile,
War.
like a sabot. Yeah.
Yeah,
No
I think a hot
projectile
dog
food
launcher.
is good food. The moment food becomes a projectile, it ceases being food. Like...
Until it stops motion. It becomes food again.
I don't know what you're over.
You're not expected, because if it's in the foil, you're not expected to like catch it in your mouth or anything, right?
No,
You have to just...
you catch it with your hand.
Okay. That removes a lot of...
Well, it's wrapped in foil, so if you're really uncomfortable, you got it in your
you
mouth.
could try to catch it in your mouth.
But typically you can catch it in your hand too, unless it's like... Oh wait, no, it's probably not aluminum foil. I was thinking aluminum foil, in which case they'd be like all those weird aluminum foil crinkles that have like the spikes on them, and you'd be firing like essentially a real dangerous projectile.
Yeah.
Okay, the guy who's currently developing the narrative-based, this is the weapon that you use.
The hot dog
is a hot dog gun.
Or it could be the T-shirt.
In fact,
Yeah.
just cancel the whole production and just send me like a video of you shooting somebody at close range with a hot dog gun.
That should just be used as test for the eventual narrative game. It can be like a Papers, Please style, like choose your own.
Hot dogs, please.
Yeah, where you like you
You're
have
a
to
hot
pick
dog
between
baby.
the really sad 8-year-old and like the starving homeless
This
guy.
okay. This isn't Papers, Please. This is Beer Tapper. Like there's a guy. You're like, that guy's hungry. You fire a hot dog at him. Like, no, in no situation are there both hot dogs and people living in squalor. Like, hot dogs are such an unnecessary food. Nobody's ever dropped a pack of ballparks over like a third world country in like in
Here,
an aid mission.
cook these on your grills that you don't have.
Yeah.
You could
Put them in the microwave.
boil them in water.
That's like literally the only option, and everybody knows.
They're gross though.
that,
Yeah,
that boiled hot
disgusting,
dogs are
horrible.
disgusting, yeah. Even Limp Bizkit do that. Okay, I think now we take a break.
Impressive, Star Fox. Now watch out for enemies in the asteroid field.
I'm gonna subtly suggest I like seeing people in pig outfits.
Good luck.
Welcome back. So, I was going through my notes for the episode, and one thing that I kept, like, verging on bringing up in the first half, but then we kept talking about, like, hot dog guns, was that Corneria is maybe like one of my favorite levels in video games.
Whoa.
Because it does like such a very good job of like being a first level without like being just like completely effortless or like a straight up tutorial. I think the addition of the tutorial in the 3DS version is probably overall a good move.
Oh, no. This is actually interesting, and is the exact one note that I have.
Alright.
The tutorial you're referring to exists in both games. There's a tutorial in the N64, and the tutorial in the 3DS version was an exact recreation of it, point for point, including the weird raccoon guy never referenced anywhere ever again. But they added one part, which is, after you beat the tutorial in the 3DS version, you go. There's now like an optional yes or no.
Like
hallway
the obstacle course.
Obstacle course, yeah. Which I think it's a really interesting decision because in the vast majority of the time in the 3DS version, they just kept trying to recreate and upscale the game in the most faithful ways possible. So that makes all their departures really, really important. Like the fact that they added a save system, we now can intuitively understand the importance of that and all the guest play stuff that they did.
And of course, the most bullshit change that they changed Falco's line of dialogue from "Hey Einstein, I'm on your side" to "Hey genius, I'm on your side."
It was like Einstein copyrighted?
And I think it's to separate like the Star Fox universe from the real world. Because
Okay,
presumably in a world where they're talking like falcons,
They would speak English, obviously.
that speak English eventually.
Yeah.
Einstein probably is not like knocking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I completely get that. Thank you for the explanation.
Yeah.
But
Still bullshit though.
But yeah, evidently they thought the addition of like this obstacle course, which was like way harder than the obstacle course in the actual like training tutorial mission, was worth like just completely designing and implementing on its own. And going through the game again, I kind of agreed with that because the tutorial is like very slow, and at the pace you go through things, you aren't really like assaulted with a whole lot of walls over and over again. Except for like when you're taught to use the brakes, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very open not to punish you, but oftentimes when you're in the game, since you're moving around like buildings and platforms, lots of things that are in your way, they thought that they needed to add that part to the tutorial. But still make it optional, which I find weird.
It is kind of strange. I think they just did that so that people wouldn't bitch.
Yeah, sure.
That they just made the tutorial longer.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've obviously played Star Fox a lot,
Right.
and like I was like, well, hell yeah, I want to do your other thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just making tutorials optional is just the right way to go with tutorials. So
Yeah.
I stand by that decision.
It's like the tutorial they made in the game was designed to teach you the buttons, and Corneria actually like taught you how to play the game.
Right. Corneria is I mean, I'll admit that I have a bias for levels that actually take place on planets. Like, those are just my favorite aesthetically. But, like, Corneria is such, like, cause it showcases everything the game does really well. It allows you to, like, do all of these, like, fancy flying maneuvers. Like, you can, like, go through, like, the rock loops, and it immediately shows you a branching pathway if you do that. It has your teammates being attacked, which is like a main mechanic in the game, and like it just there's a huge variety of enemies. So it shows like the enemies changing the terrain actively, you changing the terrain by like blasting open the doors and like destroying rocks and things. Mm-hmm. Your flying mechanics, the teammate mechanics, gives you, like, your weapon power-ups, introduces you to bombs and rings.
The utility of the lock-on early, which is a really good one. They show you...
Like, literally the first encounter.
Well, it's split out in two parts, which is a thing that I really like, is that one half of it is designed to show you the utility of how lock-ons destroy multiple enemies when fired, and the other is that it shows you how good it is at hitting moving, far-away targets when Slippy's getting chased by the other one.
Right. Yeah, and, like, the first set of enemies that come in the level are those, like, triangular dudes, and they roll in from the side, and there's the ones that come in a straight line that you can just sort of, like, put your cursor on one and fire, and it, like, basically, like, how you lead shots in the game.
Yeah.
And then the second set of them come in like, a triangle formation, and then you can lock onto the first one and blow up multiple enemies.
Yeah.
It's just... it's so insanely well designed and is still fun to play even when you know the controls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Corneria is just like a stellar example of how to do a first level.
Yeah. Because in the scenarios in which you have, like, groups of units all packed together, it still provides a challenge because the new player, if they don't understand the lock-on mechanics or just aren't actively trying to be efficient in that way, can just spam A and just try and hit all of them, and they have the challenge of multiple targets.
Right.
But when you've played the game a bunch, you can go for the like lock-on one-shot kill as an additional challenge personally.
Right. Yeah. It's... man, what a good level.
And it also introduces you early and immediately to like the split path stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Albeit, I find it weird that they didn't like call it out in any significant way because it's not a secret in terms of the menu. Like you just look when you're in the game and you can see all the planets in the star system whether you've been to them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing to call out. Like you have to go underneath these rock formations.
They kind of hint at it, I think. They put rings. They put a ring under the first one, and then as soon as you do it, Falco says,
Smooth flying, Fox.
To encourage you to keep doing it.
Right. Plus the really weird and, like, strangely only used in this area water skiing robot enemies that, like, go through are, like, you can only hit them if you go through the rock things without, like, veering weirdly around and like doing.
Yeah,
like
so they do it
U-turn.
through the level design once again.
Yeah, you guys, you've convinced me on this. I hadn't considered those things. They don't make it explicit. They don't just like tell you that there are like other paths.
I
they
think
keep
that's the
them
right
secret
call.
while still incentivizing it.
Yeah, and they
so
still
it feels
let
like
you
a thing that you found.
Yeah, they still let you know they exist.
Yeah.
So like you see that there's other paths, and you want to go back and find out how to get to them.
Yep.
And they like to indicate the existence of the pathways with your teammates, which one gives you an incentive to keep them alive, and which really there's very little incentive to keep them alive.
They
just
needed
annoying.
that incentive really bad.
But then in addition to that, well, I mean, the other incentive, like their mechanical purpose is in all range mode areas. They help fight enemies, but they don't actually do anything in the on rails portions except for if particular people are alive at particular times, they will either call something out, or, like in Medias, if Falco is still alive, then there's a rock that he'll shoot that has a gold ring in it.
Yeah, it's all contextual in
Yeah.
on the rail sections.
Yeah, but other than that, like they're literally just all they do is talk to you, which is great.
Slippy gives you boss health bars.
Yeah,
Because they needed an even further incentive for you to not murder Slippy at every opportunity.
Now, okay. I desperately want to seg into the hotly anticipated debate
But this is a good segue
into the voice acting as well.
Yeah.
Let's just do that.
Alright,
We choose the voice act path, and we'll leave the other path
for our next playthrough of this podcast. So the voice acting is really good, amazingly, in both versions. Like, they re-recorded the audio for the 3DS version.
Yeah.
And the
And it
N64
sounds like
edit-
exactly the same.
No, it's crazy.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly the same as in...
it's
you know,
really, really close.
really close.
Yeah.
And
Very faithful.
speaking as someone who really enjoys his Star Fox 64, I always found that Fox's more nasally voice in the 3DS version grating.
Unfortunately, Fox does not talk very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's the one that speaks the least. Like, the thing that I like about the voice acting, which you mentioned is very not Nintendo thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most interesting things about it. Is like, I wonder why that decision was made.
Yeah.
But it drives home, like, even subtly, because I actually, like, had to sit and think about it. If
I
this
was
is really
thinking
to the Nintendo
they
thing.
probably felt like they had to, because you wouldn't want to take your eyes off what you were doing.
It's exactly what I was thinking. They wouldn't want to force you to read the text, but they did want to still keep the convenience of text if you misunderstood what a character was saying.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually, because I was thinking about that. A lot of times, I play games at work. A lot.
Yeah.
Like, and typically when I'm playing a game, like on my 3DS at work, I usually am listening to like a podcast at the same time. So I have the volume off, and I'm listening to something else, and I'm going through, because I'm usually playing something like Monster Hunter, or like a Mario game, where it's something that like, I don't really need the sound to enjoy myself. But with Star Fox, I was completely incapable of doing that. Sound cues are so important, and like, having the characters talk and not have to read the dialogue is like like that's life or death, because like if you're like distracted by something like visually, you're just gonna wreck into 7 consecutive walls and blow off both your wings, and that's not what you want generally. So yeah, very good that they voice acted this game. But no, what I was saying before is that like I had to think about this, so it's not like really explicit, but like the voice acting does a good job of sort of driving home like the personalities of the characters and what specifically they do, like what purpose they serve on the team. Because like Slippy is like the tech guy. Like he invented the Landmaster and the Blue Marine. Yep. Like analyzes bosses and like displays a health bar, and is like obviously the most inexperienced pilot. Like Slippy is constantly being attacked, like way more than the others.
He's the engineer.
Yeah, Slippy gets like captured at one point, like gets cocky and like goes in, and then you always have to save her. Sorry. Peppy is the veteran, and he always gives you like tactical advice. So he'll tell you like where to aim on a boss, like what maneuvers to pull off in what situations, like gives you suggestions. And then Falco is like, he's the best pilot, barring you, unless you're 12. Or like 7 when I played this game. It was just like, game, like just bash the controller against the ground. I don't even know how I beat this game as a child. But yeah, like, and Falco's like obviously, and Falco's the most heavily characterized of all of them.
He's like the roguish one.
Yeah. And like none of that would come across in a typical game where you just have like squad mates.
Yeah.
And Cat's sort of like a weird sexist background.
Yeah, we don't talk about Cat.
Can we
can talk about Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Woo!
Yeah, that's about all I have to say. Bill Woo, he's the American
Bill.
guy, basically. Like, yeah.
I like the addition of like the level like specific companion characters.
Yeah.
It adds to like the replay value.
And the VO'd bosses.
Oh yeah, also very good. Oh man, no, not even particular. They're all fucking good. The only one that's not like really well voice acted is
that's something that I wanted to touch on.
Robot.
I like that this game like kind of like walks a line of like, I wouldn't necessarily call it good voice acting like Chad would, but it's not like it's good because it's bad either. Like it's really campy and it works.
Yeah. This is like, I'm trying to figure out how to like word this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of how to describe it as well.
Because Star Fox's aesthetic is not self-serious, but it plays itself like it is like a seriously like considered narrative.
Wait, what? Man.
Well, I mean, like the game doesn't like at no point in the game are you going through the game or you're going through it and it like there's no like
Jokes?
exceptional amount. Yeah, it's not inherently funny. It's just they're like one-off lines, but it's all believable within the world of Star Fox. But it's not going for like an immersive experience. It wants to be like a 70s sci-fi movie. Like that's kind of how I view like the narrative. It's it doesn't feel self-important about its narrative, but it's not overly jokey.
I always thought the voice acting was good, but the script was bad.
The script is so quotable.
Yeah.
Like it's
like I said,
extremely...
it's campy.
Yeah.
But I think it works. So I wouldn't call it bad, but I wouldn't call it good.
If this game came out today, I feel like it would end up with like Undertale levels of like memeing. Because Do a Barrel Roll has persisted.
Yep.
But like if this had come out like just like you know, there'd be like in posts on Reddit of just like a regular thing of people just saying like peppy hairlines.
Yeah.
Like it would just be, that's just like how this game is written. It's not stilted because like you're not expecting the characters to have a conversation, but like because everything is forced to be a one-liner, everything has that like kind of out of context weirdness about it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's equally hard to phrase like that. The game also taught me how many varieties of like kind of douchey enemy evil space pilot there can be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of room for some minor variations in like Captain Guy who gargles and is a jerk.
Yeah, and they all wear that like Andros hat.
Yeah,
Like, just an A on the front of it. The guy, the like commander of the fleet, I guess.
Which fleet?
In presumably like the whole in the Venom airspace level.
Venom 2. Okay, yeah.
There's a level, the level before that leads to Venom 2.
Yeah.
With it. I don't remember what the name of the thing
circular
is.
boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that leads straight into it. You don't go through the menus. All I mean.
Well, oh yeah. Okay, so like that guy is arguably like my favorite character in this game, just because of like how
that
guy is so great. Just from like when you're playing through the level and like him being like, oh, these guys are they send like some people like he says something calmly about it, and then like you get through the first line, he's like, oh, these guys are good, like better than I thought they were, and then like by the end he's like, they're crazy, release it now.
So just to be clear, not his sidekick guy. You don't enjoy him at all.
No.
I'm going through the second line.
Well, that's great also. Just everything that is said in that level is hilarious on like a higher plane than I'm used to.
Well, wrap up comedy now.
Yeah, comedy solved in 1997 with that dude yelling in Star Fox 64.
God.
So as we're talking about level design, originally we were talking about Corneria.
Yeah.
If you take the branching path in Corneria, you go through Sector X, I think?
Why?
Sector Y.
Sector Y.
X, Y.
Oh, Sector X is the one where Slippy
The
can get
robot.
knocked to Titania,
Yeah,
and
and-
Sector Z is the one with the missiles.
Yeah.
Note, I need to come back to Sector X.
Okay. We can talk about Sector X now, and we can make a literal progression through to where we need to get to.
Okay, fine. My weird thing in Sector X is that I think it's like just tonally out of nowhere with like every other level in the series. Everything is camp, start to finish, in like its bad sci-fi movie state. But there's like a robot who's having like an existential crisis about its creator out of nowhere.
Wait, that's Sector Y.
No, that's X.
That's X?
X is the one with the robot where Slippy knocks away Slippy into Titania.
Is that the one? Is Sector X the one then? That
Sector
has
Y
the...
is level 2 if
Yeah.
you take the hard path.
Yes, Sector Y is
So Sector X is the
all
one after
robot guys.
Medios, after Zonus? Or no, Zonus is the hard
No, God, these lettered zones.
Yeah, the zones are the worst.
I think Sector X is on the middle path.
No.
It's not? Is it on the bottom?
Sector
It's the
X
bottom.
is on the easy. Both
Okay,
Y
so the
and
bottom.
Z are on the hard path.
Yeah.
People on the internet are screaming at us
Yep.
with our
Yeah.
letter
We
things.
don't know anything.
But
Yeah.
if you,
We're stupid.
none of that's relevant. What is relevant is that there is a level in this game in which, like, every other character is doing, like, campy fun things, and there's a robot that's like, what is my purpose? Oh, God.
The creator
And then you kill it.
destroy.
You put it out of its misery.
Dude, I am not even joking. And you guys know that, like, I don't generally get into, like, lore.
Yeah.
And of all games to do this with, Star Fox does not seem like the one. That robot put me off so much. Like, when I played it the most recent time, I was like, I have to Google this. Like, I have to know. And, like, apparently the consensus is just, like, it was a thing that they were working on and they gave up. Like, there's no explanation.
nothing at all.
The robot's just like, the creator, destroy, alert.
Say, I don't remember that because I always avoid the easy path.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot of the easy stuff gets neglected.
It's also avoidable if you go through the warp too, because there's where you shoot
yeah.
the panels.
Or if you're awful and let Starwolf blow up
the base
Yeah.
on
it's another good level. Because the one thing that I don't like about like level progression in this game is that I don't like Starwolf only shows up at the end of Venom 2, so that as robots,
in the hard path.
Yeah.
And they go like, our ships are way better this time.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean this time?
Yeah.
I think they just really don't expect you to go the hard path.
Yeah, I think they're banking on the fact that you'll have not gone the hard path.
But it's not even a matter of first time, because it's not like the narrative is in line from the other paths.
Right.
Yeah,
They're just we're robots with awesome ships this time, and everyone else in the Star Fox team is like,
What?
Okay, oh right.
Well, I guess it's implied that the two groups have a history together.
Yeah.
A history in which you shot them down every time.
Yeah.
You have to do your research on this because without the context of what happened before the game, a lot of the lines that Starwolf say don't make any sense at all. You don't know. Assuming that the first time you encounter Starwolf is Venom 2, you don't know that Andrew is Andross's nephew. You don't know that Pigma Dengar betrayed Star Fox and was in fact oh
yes, you know that. It's in the opening cutscene of the game.
It is in the opening.
Oh, the Pigma Dengar part.
Yeah.
Right. Does it say explicitly that he kills your father?
He says, Pigma betrayed the team.
Right.
And Pigma tells you in that fight that he killed your father.
He goes, your daddy screamed real good before he died! Which is the most heinous line of dialogue in a KA rated game.
This is rated E10+.
That's the 3DS version. The N64 was still using the...
That's when they added allusions to drugs in some lines.
Right.
Yeah, there's just it's so Pigma Dengar is the most fucked up character, I think, in the game. Worse than Andross. Because Andross is a power hungry dude that has military might. Pigma Dengar is a straight psychopath.
Yeah.
He just enjoys murdering for the sake of murder. He's a goddamn monster.
Dude, all Andross is a video game boss. That's all he was ever even intended to be.
Yeah.
Because you get there, and he is now
a disembodied head.
the size of almost the Great Fox.
Yeah.
The
He's
size
massive.
of a large starship.
Yeah. And weirdly, because when you play it the first time, and by the first time, I mean the time that you are bad and don't go to Venom 2,
Yeah.
you are given the implication that, you blow him up and he's a robot, and then you kill the robot and the real Andross is somewhere else. But then the true form path reveals that Andross really is a huge head with a big, still sentient, moving around brain and 2 eyeballs.
Yeah, because I didn't actually get. Well, when you get to the end, the very last cutscene, he appears ominously in the sky, you get that that's the implication he's still around.
Right.
But I just thought at the time that it was he just put his brain in a giant death robot, mad scientists do.
Right.
But then that reasonable explanation for the giant head with robot hands is gone.
Well, apparently the hands are still robotic.
Yeah, there's no more man behind the curtain thing. It's he's just a giant robot head.
I have no specific memory of this, but I can't imagine not being deeply upset. The first time I got to Venom 2 and I got to the point where normally it would reveal his robot head and he starts shaking his face and fucking David Cronenberg body horror fucking skin rips off and he just becomes a brain. That's so fucked up. On so many levels.
It just seems tropey enough for me. I'm okay with it.
It feels...
Oh no, evil brain creature.
It feels very N64.
Yeah. I guess in context of the game, it's not super out of line.
Oh.
But it still seems so unexpected.
Yeah, another important feature is that he is a brain that can teleport.
Yeah, well, that is just a video.
also
laser
just-
That's a
eyes.
video game
can-
like
He
understatement.
can disconnect his eyes.
And they fly around, and they shoot lasers that move very slowly. Like, they have the worst offensive capabilities ever. And then, like, his weird... His
Yeah.
brain has tentacles, which presumably are, like... Fuck, what? What does a brain have?
That's like the spinal connections,
Like
to
the nerves.
but
Yeah.
they're squid tentacles.
But they can rip out your wings.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. All right, established.
Yeah.
Thing I find weird.
That none of that was weird.
Yeah.
But what I do
The
find
thing that I find weird is not the robot having an existential crisis, not the giant ape face that becomes a sentient floating brain, but this third thing.
No, this is a game design weird thing, which is that there's no medium difficulty Venom level.
That is a little bit, because there are 3, like, distinct paths
Yeah, although
that you
medium
can cross.
is like
of course.
really short,
Yeah.
and the sort of like branching intermediary. Yeah, I find it weird that they just did not. That was never even like a considered option. Well, I guess it could have been a considered option and just got cut for time or something.
Yeah.
But
Maybe that would explain the Golem boss.
I always liked the Golem boss.
I like that boss.
Yeah, I like it. Like, I like it, at least aesthetically. It's just a mash fest. Like, gameplay-wise, you
Oh.
just jam A.
Only if you're really good at mashing. When I was a kid and was not good at mashing, it was a really cool, like, dodgy. I assume where they got the idea for the like bonus tutorial.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
we're talking about
It's the
earlier.
hallway with the
Yeah,
things that you
yeah.
cross.
I always found that it was a challenge that had never existed before in the game. That was like thread this specific needle right now over and over again. So I never encountered it because I never ever fought the like Venom 1 boss. But
The Venom 1, like, I don't know, you look at the trenches. I can't. No, there actually are trenches in Venom 1.
the
but
canyons.
Not the canyons, though. I'm talking about the pipeline that goes to where
Oh
Andros
yeah, like the
is
inner
even
core.
more interesting than the other version. Because it has, like, the horizontal, like, barriers, and then, like, the closing door, the opening doors.
Oh, I always forgot about that.
Yeah, so,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it actually, there's, like, something to do there. In Venom 2, it's just a dogfight, an expositional scene where you just choose left or right, and then the boss battle. Like, Venom 1 is such, like, a, like, legitimately very interesting level, and even has, like, the big beam at the end that all 3 ships come in and blow up. Like, that gives
Right.
you, like, I don't know. It's just such a cool level, and it seems like Venom 2 is almost disappointing. Then the brain
Maybe-
just, like, kicks you
Maybe
right
it's
out
like
of
a
that.
narrative explanation, whereas like Venom 1 was supposed to be the decoy and the one you were supposed to go to, and they didn't think you were going to show up on Venom 2.
I
I
did
think
like
that's
the
actually
Starwolf fight
true.
in Venom 2.
Oh, yeah.
And I
The
agree
what
with that.
fight?
The Starwolf fight.
Oh
in
yeah,
Venom
that's
2.
pretty cool.
That's why I feel like the multiplayer of Star Fox should have been good. Because the idea of, like doing a dogfight with somebody who is at least, like, moderately as good as you was a really cool concept and, like, a cool thing to do.
I think the problem there is that a lot of the mechanics of like Star Fox in all range mode don't have a whole lot of room for optimization. You can like move around in different directions, but the ways in which you can move are very controlled, like your maximum turn radius and the kind of control you have and the way that you do the little spins to block lasers and stuff. Like, if we're making a comparison, for example, to Splatoon and like its movement mechanics when you're going around and doing things.
Nobody has ever done this before.
Of course. There's like a lot of crazy, unique things you can do within the context of that game to move faster than another comparable inexperienced person.
Right.
And that does not exist at all in the context of Star Fox. You have a boost, you have a set amount of time you can boost, and you have like ways, like a button you press to turn faster.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, and it is fun in the context of the game. But this is why I feel like, I guess maybe I just was too young and played it with people who were not very good, or I wasn't very good, or some combination thereof. But, like, the multiplayer dogfighting just seems like it would be fun because the other person is not a computer.
Yeah.
Like, because they can use those same moves, and it's not just, like, go this way until somebody's following you, do a somersault, shoot them, repeat.
Yeah.
Like, where like it kind of boils down to that like heuristic, but in the I don't know. I can't say because we weren't able to play the multiplayer.
Yeah,
Today.
it's my
Yeah,
fault.
yeah,
I have a lot of
yeah.
really good memories of that multiplayer mode, though. But what I wish I had good memories of was the Assault multiplayer mode that I actually had fun with, because I wish I had something to compare the mechanical differences to.
Mm-hmm.
Probably in Assault it was like variety weapon forms and different ways you could approach things, because you could like have different ships, pick different weapons, and things had like comparable, goods and bads over each other, except for everyone having exactly the same abilities, and those abilities not having a whole lot of variance in how good you can get at using them. But in the Star Fox 64 multiplayer mode, I just mostly remember me being like the big fish in a small pond, kid 8-year-old on the block, running around with peppy hair, sprinting on the ground with an arm cannon, firing things into the air, because I knew how to lead shots and no one else knew how to lead shots. So
you just get to be ruler of the day.
yes.
Alright, well, I think that we've tap danced around it long enough at this point. We talked about every level,
Except
for Aquas and Solar. We didn't actually talk about every level. Please don't send me an email. It's you didn't go in depth on Zonus. I don't care. I don't like shooting fucking searchlights.
Yeah, Zonus is fine. And almost pretty much every other level we talked about is
actually
also
really like
fine,
Zonus.
because they often fall into the standard rail mechanics you already talked about, where you shoot specific things at specific times and whatever. It's time for the weird ones.
Yeah.
Alright.
So, we had a debate. We didn't have the debate necessarily. We preempted a debate.
Right.
Because I sent a text to our podcast group text that is ongoing, of course, complaining about my least favorite station in this game, Aquas.
Which I replied to with, it's not as bad as the Landmaster or the Sun level.
And Solar is it's at least in my top 4 favorite levels in the game.
Because I said earlier that I have a preferred path, which is the hard path. And it's not because I think I'm badass and can only do the top path. It's the only path that has a level that I don't hate. Is why it's my preferred path. I hate Solar and I hate the Landmaster levels.
Right, so you can
So I
avoid both.
avoid bottom and middle path, always.
So, Showdown 2016, like with the Puppet Ganon fight.
Oh god.
do you want to present first, or do you
I
want me to
can,
present
because I feel like
first?
you're going to go way more in depth.
Oh man, I get to mediate too.
Yeah.
I will defend. Well, you feel like you're way more prepared for this because you are going to list off why you think Solar is a good level.
That's the thing that I am prepared for. I really have only a little bit of hatred for specific hatred for Aquas. I have reasons. But...
I don't love Aquas,
right,
but I think it's a fine level, and I like the Blue Marine as an alternate vehicle because it controls mostly the same as the R-Wing. It's a bit slower and not as precise, I guess, in its turning
movement,
into its movement. But it's basically the same. It's the same language you've been playing the rest of the game with. And I just don't think it's that hard or that frustrating. It's a nice change of scenery. I think it's totally fine.
Alright.
Whereas with Solar, for me, is a level that, if I, mess up and end up on that path, I just start over. I don't think I've ever finished that level. I hate it that much.
See, that's, I think, a key thing, and I'm not gonna use it as points in the debate, but I do want to talk about the final boss of Solar because it's one of my favorite, it might be my favorite boss in the game. But with Aquas, I actually don't have anything against the Blue Marine as, a vehicle. I think that it's largely fine. The issue that I take is that the level itself is just super dark, and so the way that you have to navigate the level is just by constantly spamming torpedoes. So you fire the torpedoes to light the path, and then they explode on something. But there are also tons of enemies that are only, damageable by torpedoes. So, what always ends up happening is that you lock on to an enemy that you have to kill with the torpedo and fire it, and then the torpedo just, goes out toward that enemy, and, it's swimming around and doing its thing, and then you can't see anything except for like this one area way off in the distance. I don't think it makes the level hard, but it's certainly not fun just coasting forward and like just jamming A for a while.
I don't think that it's hard to see in that level.
Man, I thought the game was just pitch black.
No.
if you don't have the
Not even
torpedoes.
close.
No, like I don't.
No, I mean it actively. I just played it. I legitimately cannot see without the torpedoes on screen.
What?
It might maybe I have my DS like
I guarantee
settings
you, I
to
could
the
beat
lowest
that.
brightness.
I can beat that level without ever using it.
Yeah, like same here. I don't. I've
Lots
rarely
of
used
enemies-
torpedoes in that level.
Lots of enemies are bioluminescent. Lots of enemies have their own light sources. The white pillar components are like completely like self-lit areas,
Well, the white pillars disappear at the midway point of the level.
and a lot of the actual things on the ground also are white and are
Right.
thus
I mean, yeah,
visible.
it is supposed to be darker, but it is not even close to too dark to
Yeah.
not be able to
I
see.
honestly would get hit by things that I did not see, and that physically run into things that I did not see while playing that level.
Yeah, you probably just have your brightness down way too far.
My DS brightness is on the lowest setting at all times.
Dude,
so.
something weird is wrong here, even with your eyes or your DS and or its settings. Because I mean,
I'm not saying that there's just nothing on screen.
It is not the
It's just-
catacombs, is what I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It is not anywhere close to that. It is just a dark level, and the only time at the level I think explicitly has the challenge you're talking about, where it's use the missiles so you can see and not hit a thing in the environment, are when the rocks fall in the ravines.
Right.
That's an explicit time where they try and do that. That's never supposed to be a challenge to anyone at any other point in that level.
Huh. I always found the darkness to be really impeding and an annoyance.
Well, I think we found the reason why Chad hates Aqua so much.
Yeah.
But now we can discuss the reason that you hate Solar so much that you've never finished it.
The fact that your health drains the whole time and it's just incredibly frustrating. I don't know if I ever even make it to the halfway point without dying.
You can control it.
I know, you have to get the rings.
No, you can go to the top of the screen and lose health less fast.
Right, but you still are draining health.
Well, yeah, but it's not at the rate you're talking about.
It's not a fun challenge. It's what it boils down to for me. I just find it frustrating.
See, I think, and if you'll excuse the pun, moderator, that it is a really cool mechanic.
No, I know exactly where you're gonna go with this. It's the way that it challenges your skills of the game in a way that other levels don't, and you really like that, which is totally acceptable. I don't think you're wrong or anything. It's just I find the challenge incredibly unfun and frustrating.
Well, I don't think that it's. I don't want to say that it's necessarily a strictly very skill based. It's not skill based in the way that
Because you can't miss any of the rings.
you can miss.
Or
some
you're
rings, yeah.
fucked.
Of
Well,
course you can.
it helps a lot, I guess, if you come in with at least 1 or 2 gold rings,
Sure.
stocked, so that you have more health. But I don't know, the main annoyance that I have with that is the fact that it also drains your teammates' health. So it's less forgiving going into subsequent levels. If they get hit a few times, they're more likely to die if you've been through Solar.
I agree with that.
But largely, I think that the mechanic of wanting to keep you at the top of the screen and also wanting you to hit the projectiles and enemies actively to stay alive, so you're not just avoiding things, but you're actually aiming at them, is cool. And I like that level a lot because of that. But the main reason that this is one of my favorite levels is largely an aesthetic one. Because I love the, sun level design.
Yeah, I think it looks cool.
It looks very cool. I love the waves of lava. And I very much love the bioweapon, the boss of that stage. Because he's just he looks terrifying. He's this, hot monster.
He's a hot
monster.
Chad terrified
He's
by hot
he's
things.
molten rock, man.
Yeah.
Mantis.
Mantis.
He's
Well,
He has
molten
this
rock
huge.
mantis.
Yeah, maybe it's
That's
an
my
arm
new
aimed for the
metal
arm. Yeah, and when you blow off his arm, he just spews lava out of it. And
I know, yeah. I would totally grant you that. The
Yeah.
level looks cool.
Yeah,
It's just-
well, it looks very cool. Is very hot.
The kind of, at least speaking personally, the things that I normally use to gauge whether or predict whether or not I think a challenge is like frustrating instead of the kind of challenges that we normally come to video games for is on two axes. Whether or not you can like actually meaningfully interact with the thing that's posing the challenge to you. Like whether there's something, there's a large room between whether you can do something right or wrong at any given time, and how punishing it is if you don't do whatever prescribed thing it's expecting you to do in the scenario.
Right.
And it is, and I've got to admit that in the context of Solar, it is more narrow on both of those axes. If you don't understand, for example, that going up to the top of the screen drains your health way, way less fast than the bottom, you will die fast.
Well, they explicitly say it at the beginning of the stage.
Agreed.
I guess presumably you could also go in with no teammates and not know.
Right, but my point is only not that things aren't said to you or that you don't know what to do. It's just that it's very punishing if you do it wrong.
True.
And additionally, even though you can mitigate the amount of damage you take so much that it's like only the like tiniest sliver of passive things, it's still continuous.
Right.
That's the one that I'm more okay with because it's more of a pressure than like you constantly being hit. It's prescribing a time limit of what you have to find to ring again, and because the level is because there's so few enemies in the Solar level, and most of them are just like things coming to physically hit you from great distances.
Yeah, you get like physical things in the waves of lava and rocks, and then you have cool firebirds.
Right.
Yeah.
It means that you're not like, because under normal circumstances, if you had a level like that where your health was constantly draining, it would be really frustrating when enemies like fire like regular laser shots on you and get hit because it's harder to like dodge and interact with those.
Right.
Because it's easier to dodge and interact with the enemies, it makes that a less frustrating experience. I think they managed how the game interacts with you as your health is decreasing sort of mechanically well, but I can concede that on both axes it is more frustrating than a lot of like other possible mechanical challenges. Like there's no way that you can go through the Solar level perfectly, for example. So I really do think I'm medium here. Weirdly.
So I'm curious, do you have any thoughts on the Blue Marine as a thing?
The Blue Marine
I don't
itself...
like to go on record saying that I aesthetically like, when I can see it, Aquas as well, because I just like underwater things. And they're
you do like
anglerfish
underwater
and
levels,
shit, which is cool. But yes.
Like, Aquas is a level that's less supposed to be about like your like actual reaction time skills with the game and more about management. Like the reason that you have like an infinite number of torpedoes, but the torpedoes have like a specific like light function that bring you that assistance, and they're all lock-on torpedoes.
Yeah,
they
and
shoot slower too.
Right.
Yes.
And that there are so many enemies that can only be killed by the torpedoes is because what they're trying to force you to do is A, they give you the time to sit back and think about all the things that are coming to approach you from like great distances, but you only get more of that time to think if you use the torpedoes intelligently. And then, because you can control with your reticule like what things the torpedoes lock onto, they aren't like video game 100% automatic. They're trying to also to force you to manage where your reticule is pointing on the screen at any time,
right,
so that you can be very deliberate, fire the infinite torpedoes you have at those specific things that are having to worry about them, and shoot at the other things that your regular lasers can deal with. I don't think it was executed that well, because it often just gets into a spam fest where you just go back and forth over and over again, and it's possible for you to like beat the level and not really be in trouble by just constantly trying to have the light. And there's enough margin for error that if you torpedo everything that shouldn't be torpedoed, and that you can just, even not dodge or care enough about the other things that are still alive, they aren't threatening enough to you to punish you if you don't manage things well.
Right.
So I think it's a
the only
fine
enemy
level.
In that level that I feel like is like the one that requires you to manage everything properly in order to deal with are like the little guys who drop in and then explode.
Yeah.
Because they have a tendency to just kind of like overwhelm you. They get like too many of them on screen, and then you just like...
Yeah, they take up such a huge portion of the screen. The
Yeah,
boss
the
fits in
boss
with this
is huge.
theme as well, since all the portions
I
of the
like
boss...
that.
The boss is cool.
Yeah, the clan.
Like, just...
Yeah.
And, like, all the bosses in this game are cool.
Yeah.
I think we can agree on that.
Yeah, both bioweapons are cool.
But because all the things that are important require you have to shift, for example, with the actual like clam tendons between lasers and the missiles, and later you have to manage constantly shooting the little balls that only exist to get in your way and be annoying.
Yeah.
Like, even the boss continues to force home, like, the weird, like, management structure of, like, when you fire missiles and where you fire lasers.
Right.
So I think that was designed well as well.
Maybe my issue with Aquas is just that I'm not managing my torpedo firing well enough.
But like I said
I'm
before...
not saying things are immediately in front of me or invisible. It's just not being able to see into the distance is such a hindrance.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can just spam that level and be fine. In which case it becomes sort of like a weird reward for getting a high enough score on the previous one. I also find that a weird choice. That all the others, of course, they're arbitrary. Like, oh, you go through enough of the under rings, now you can go through this new secret path. But it's those other situations were arbitrary from the perspective of like the game itself, like the actual individual levels that you're in. But this is just, it's based upon like an abstracted thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, shoot this number of enemies down and you can now go to this level.
Yeah, like General Pepper is like in Gray Fox, just like tallying up, like, oh, one more.
I never liked that. They
Yeah.
had been so good through the rest of the game, sort of specifying these like cool secret conditions in order for you to get through, but just like killing enough things I don't find interesting. You don't have to do anything different. If you were good enough at the game, you would never even know it was a secret.
Yeah. I feel like that one is also the one that isn't like telegraphed. And nobody tells you like, fuck, see how many guys you can murder.
Any more than they would already, even if they did, how would you differentiate those things?
Right.
It would be like,
he would have to literally be
don't
like,
let any of them through. Which
take
is what
out
Peppy
the
actually
entire
says.
fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if that line, if don't let any of them through was supposed to be your hint that you're supposed to shoot a lot of them, it's nowhere near clear enough for you to be able to know that it's anything secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he had said like, shoot at least 100 of them,
Yeah.
it would just come off as really strange. He's like, Pepper,
In
what? Why?
Sector Y, you get the prompt to deal with the entire fleet.
Oh yeah.
What?
You're
Oh,
not- is it
you're
Y?
told... No, Y is the one we were just talking about.
Yeah,
That's
not
the second level
Yeah.
in the hard path.
You're told to deal with the whole fleet.
Yeah,
To
it's a
whole-
condition to continue the hard path. It's just like you're supposed to take out the entire like upcoming fleet. Is like the task you have to accomplish to go to the next level in the hard path.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Isn't that not what we were just talking about? Because it's just it is factually just like a set number to get to Aquas.
Yeah,
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
not the whole fleet.
I suppose.
Yeah.
Never
Because it would be impossible. Because like what we mentioned before, it's like impossible.
But
to
I'm
kill
saying,
everybody.
I'm
Branching
saying
paths,
that's
still,
like more obvious encouragement
Yeah,
to
I mean,
accomplish that goal.
But it's not a different goal. You already have that goal.
Right.
Yeah. That's what I don't like. Every other thing requires something different to have transpired.
can't play Aquas in a pacifist Star Fox playthrough.
Even scenarios in which it seems like at first that wouldn't be the case, like with the robot. Like in the robot's case specifically, you go to the secret level, you go to the train level by just killing it before it can hit Slippy.
Okay.
Yeah, but like unless you know that and focus on it, it's going to hit Slippy every time. So it's already like a secret thing that you do the next playthrough,
Right.
with the context of that knowledge.
I love that particular one, by the way, because I don't like Macbeth very much, and I like Titania, and so it's like, and I also hate Slippy. So all the pieces just kind of fell into place. So I just like go into that level and be like, yeah, yes, go get him, Slippy.
Wow, is there even like a single boss in this game that like didn't land?
I don't personally like the sector-wide like mechs.
Yeah, the mechs are kind of annoying.
They just
They're dodgy. They're really dodgy.
yeah. My main issue with them is just the fact that they don't feel right. Like, because they're just like,
Games don't feel right.
and like in the game, like because they're like what? They're two. Effectively, they're dudes in big suits.
Yeah, they're just more
Gundams
camp.
to
That's all it
fight.
is. It's just
Yeah.
pure camp.
It's just like the fact that it's just because like all the other ones, like, okay, if you're gonna be a dude in a big suit,
Yeah.
do you want like a roughly twice your size robot suit, or do you want like the huge robot with the missile launchers?
This
like
just comes down
Corneria,
to Chad's
like-
preference of I'd rather fight a huge That's true.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I like Solar and Aquas's boss so much.
My problem with that fight is the turn radius. It's always hard. Like they're always like circling around
Yeah.
you, and you're like, stop.
You're just like always slightly not tight enough on the turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it took like this most recent time. I like kept forgetting that there were two, and I just kept being like, wow, this one guy is like so fast.
Dude, it's actually something weird I never thought about before. Because they could have hypothetically lowered your turn radius a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
I guess they were trying to add more utility to the like turn around back maneuver than you can do. I guess. Because that would have also made the multiplayer better, right? If you had more leeway for how fast you could turn. Because you don't.
Well, yeah, it's literally just on off. Like you
Yeah.
have turn and fast turn.
Yeah.
And then I guess barrel rolls move you horizontally faster than the fast turn, but only in the rail
Don't
sections.
quote me on this. I think it's exactly the same as just holding down the button and going sideways.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It feels better though.
Yeah,
'Cause
it does.
I think it's objectively better if it is
you're
the
also
same
blocking
because you're
lasers.
invisible. You're invincible, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not invincible. You can still run into rocks, as I've discovered.
And
many times.
there's like a 1 second period where you can get by lasers. And
Yeah.
like, you know, like,
The before and after, yeah.
That's
it.
it. Star Fox strats.
Yeah, this has become a strategy fuck, yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think everything I can remember landed. I like just going through them in order. I like both Corneria bosses as like introductory bosses to the game. I liked the like surprise flip boss with it requires specific shooting in the asteroid level. I liked all the Star Wolf fights because they're such a big difference in kind from the other things you fight, with the exception of the aforementioned sort of mechs we were talking about in Sector Y.
Right.
I liked the robot fight, mostly, but just because of how weird it is at the time. We already talked about how cool the fight with the sand thing was. Bolts is awesome with all the laser tower you're dodging.
The non-core part of Bolts is the only part that I don't like because it feels weird to be moving while it's rotating in the other direction.
It was I liked it just for the same reason you dislike it.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like you're out of control the whole time.
Yes.
So you're just like,
You either go way too fast or you're like trying to fight through jelly.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I like all versions of Andros. I like the guy who runs down the path.
Golem.
Yeah.
What a weird
I
name.
think Zonus has a satisfying boss.
That's
Yeah,
the water
The bomb boss.
I think that's like the only boss that I don't really like playing.
Yeah. Is that the part that you didn't like?
No,
the
it's
piracy?
fine that he's a pirate.
You don't like? Okay.
I don't like the fact that it's like, because it's just like he gives you bombs so much.
Because you can only hold.
None of his projectiles are difficult to avoid. The only thing that really ever hits you is the spike ball, and that's if you're like being super lazy. And you're just like, I can just take the hit this time rather than get out of the way.
Yeah, it's just a bomb. It's a way for you to get lots of bombs.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like not cool.
Yeah, it's just
every-
fine. It's
yeah.
like a video game boss,
Like
right?
every boss in this game, I feel like has a very they have a very satisfying aesthetic suite to them. Like both the sound effects and like the visual effects on scoring hits on bosses are very they're very clear. It's very satisfying to do, and that guy's actually a pretty good example because you blow sections of his ship off and they and come off and then sink into the water.
Yep,
it's all very
visceral,
pleasing. Yeah.
So we not even because I think we already talked about the rest. The UFO level where Bill is also kind of just a video game boss, but cool within the context of don't shoot down the friendlies as like a personal mission.
Is there any negative consequence for shooting friendlies?
It's only personal. It's only at the very end of the level when you instead used bombs and killed all of them, and there's just no one else in your formation. Whereas if you kill none of them, you have a full awesome, totally sweet Cornerian air formation.
Because I know that because the first thing that Slippy says when you get in the level is it's hard to tell the good guys from the bad guys.
Well, yeah,
it's it is fucking hard.
That's the point.
I shot so many friendlies. That's such a weird place. Because I was imagining with a 64 game just because of the era that it came out.
Yeah.
I always imagine a kid playing the game, and it's that seems so mean to a kid to put it they're in this game, they just shoot everything, then they get to that level and they start shooting everything, and then everyone's starts yelling at them.
That's probably why they didn't
Like, you're
punish it.
killing all of your friends! Like, I don't mean to! I'm sorry!
No, don't be disappointed in me, Bill, my old buddy from high school.
I'm gonna need therapy.
But that's probably why they didn't punish you mechanically for it. Because if you took damage, it's just that makes no sense in context. But just arbitrarily, if you took damage when you shot down a friendly, that would be stupid.
Well, I think they should just have an arbitrary number of friendlies that if you kill them, it just fails the mission.
Yeah,
Right?
that could. Well, that'd seem arbitrary though, because you shot down and like, no, we're going.
They'd be like, "Well, you're a mercenary." And they'd be like, "Star Fox, you're fired." And
Fox
then
McCloud,
fired.
Hilarious.
Credits roll to like a montage of Fox like in line at a soup kitchen, like his life went downhill quick.
Andross's specific soup kitchen. Yeah. You know, they could use the stamp thing a second time too. I think the end of the game.
Oh yeah,
fired.
It's like it's still just like the Great Fox logo stamp, but it's just on like a pink slip. It gets your notice of termination. It's just approved.
Yes.
Alright.
Great alternate ending.
We done?
Oh, I kind of wanted to bring up the 3D, but I feel like I wanted to do it earlier but forgot.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because there are a lot of 3DS games where I just turn the 3D off, but I think Star Fox is a game that actually implements it really well.
It
Yes.
depends on
Except for there's a couple of levels that have lots of enemies on screen, and I turn it off for those, but like at a time. Like I think it gets like, I don't know, like too...
It's too real.
Yeah, it's too real. All these enemies flying at me. It gets a little like blurry or something. It gets like a little weird for me when there's a bunch of enemies on screen.
Oh,
that
Honestly,
sounds
that's
like eye
understandable,
fatigue.
yeah.
And I
there
can
you
get
go.
that.
Eye fatigue.
But in the 3DS version, Rob64, ever helpful companion, likes to tell you that if you are using 3D, you should take a break every half hour.
Yeah. I guess
But,
that makes sense. It's
yeah.
just, in the hypothetical version in which the 3D is perfect and isn't like physically straining to your eyes, I think the reason that it's so good in this game is because it's a game that sort of uniquely uses it. Because like 3D backward space,
Yeah, the depth of field.
yeah, is relevant to like every single on rails section at all times. Anything that can help you judge distance like that will be extremely helpful for the vast majority of the game, and even more so than like a shooter or something comparable, because it's the only distance that's really relevant.
Yeah, I know I was told specifically not to do this, but I like playing this game with the 3D on in the dark, which is weird, I guess.
Why are you not supposed to do that?
Evidently, it's
Eyes.
bad for you. Yeah.
Why the dark specifically?
I think the contrast, like your eyes are trying to focus on something, and I don't know if it's like actually bad. This is like the worst disclaimer ever. I've heard it's bad. I have no specific reasons why. Please try it and find out for yourself.
Who told you?
It's when you look up stuff about the 3DS, they always have like a list of health issues. Do you not read the health and safety information?
It's not like you went on to like, I don't know, like Game Facts or something, and then someone was like, "Oh, don't play this video game in the dark." Game Facts will tell you the opposite of that every time.
No, using the 3D. I don't know why I know this. I must have at some point read the health and safety information. That's in every instruction
You were real
booklet.
concerned.
But I think that you're not supposed to use the 3D in the dark. This got way further than I wanted. I just wanted it to be like a one-off line.
Nope,
But-
we were going to grill you on reading health and safety information like a loser who cares about his health and safety.
I do have to say... I do have to say that the 3D on the new 3DS
Is better.
ooh, so good. And then, like, that and I think Super Mario 3D Land are the only games that I think that I've played with the 3D on and, like, actively enjoyed it. Most of the time, I think it's, like, an active detriment to the game.
Oh wait, you replaced your 2DS.
With
I was gonna be like, maybe that's the
Chad has-
explanation.
that would be the issue.
Chad has the new 3DS.
Well, the thing is,
JJ
with the-
and I have the original 3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the 3DS, you're not supposed to play with the 3D on in the dark. With the 2DS, you're not supposed to play a 2DS.
Right, yeah.
Ever.
That is what it says
Yeah.
now.
Unless you have like weird. Fuck that. Goddamn system.
You open the book
You bought
and
one.
it's like,
I know.
what are you doing? You are clearly, if you are reading this, you are not 8 and should not have a 2DS.
Yeah, that's true. I think it is. I think it's just for kids.
Yeah.
I got it because it was cheaper.
The only justification for it I've heard that I thought made sense is it's for kids so they don't, like, clamp their fingers.
Oh no, it's not clamping the fingers so they don't snap it.
And that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't
They
pinch their
pinches.
fingers
But yeah,
and they don't
I thought
snap
that was
it in half.
explicitly why it existed.
Well, I don't know why it. I get if it's literally like literally nerfing, like making it a safety product.
Yeah, it's like
for kids. Then I guess that explains the fact there's no clamshell. But like, it's still like a weird like wedge design, which I don't understand fully. I don't know.
Yeah, that's, I guess, more thinking about that, because I never questioned that. It sort of evokes the, like, weird, not Play-Doh. Isn't there, like, there's, like, 7 million toy companies all named Play X.
Like Play School.
Yeah, it's like a
Fisher
Play
Price.
School, like, really
Fisher
basic
Price, yeah.
geometry-shaped thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's strange because, like, we're just gonna get off track. I don't actually give a shit. But, like, when you hold, like, a normal controller or, like, a 3DS, you kind of, like, your hands naturally land where they want to land and, like, have things to hold onto.
Yes.
With the 2DS, because the shoulder buttons are
Are
all the
on
way
the
at the top of the screen, you have to hold the thing up, like, near where the screen is, and not where the touchscreen is, which makes that inconvenient. But then additionally, like, there's no grip on it, so it's basically just your own pressure of, like, laying your hands on it is slowly forcing it down. So you have to readjust it all the time. It's just a really badly designed, like, piece of hardware.
Oh yeah, the reason it forces it down, why it wouldn't if you're holding it regular, is because there's no point that comes against your palm.
Right, it
You're holding
just
it so high up
hangs-
that you're just like pushing a cheese block down out of your hands.
But the
That's
only game
awful.
I ever played on it was Pokemon, the 6th generation Pokemon games.
Oh man!
So-
Imagine if you tried to play Smash Brothers on a 2DS.
Yeah, it would be. I have. It's impossible. Yeah, like in Pokemon, I just put it on a table and I press the touch screen and I cook dinner. Like, it's not an issue at that point.
All right.
Yeah.
Star
Fox 64.
Other than the 3D, I also wanted to kind of bring up the ending where you follow your father's ghost out of the.
I never at all got that.
I think
got that.
that's like weirdly effective on me. Like I feel like that's a really like emotional, like nice emotional moment.
Is it his ghost? Is
Yeah.
that the implication?
It's you have to really pay attention to it, and it's supposed to be ambiguous when you first experience it. But
I've experienced it
if you
dozens of times.
Yeah, and if you just look at the screen like really closely as both of you guys like leave the atmosphere, essentially, his shape just vanishes, just like on screen vanishes.
I didn't actually think that he came out of the thing.
It does. He
I
pops
couldn't
out,
misremember
and then
it.
you pop out.
Right.
Yeah, and he just disappears. Totally agree that it's like weirdly affecting in context, though. I think that they do like some nice pauses on it.
Yeah.
They hard stop on a lot of the campiness.
Yeah, it's like it's not like it doesn't beat you over the head with it either. He's just there, and you just follow him out. It's not like, oh Fox, you've avenged me.
Yeah.
like, you know.
He just says like basic dad lines.
yeah, which
nice.
is
like,
effective.
you become so strong.
Yeah.
Gone forever.
James McCloud, basic dad.
Sweet shades, basic dad. You can get those shades. You know that?
Specifically those.
Yeah,
sunglasses?
in expert mode, you're just wearing the shades.
Oh, yes, I did know that.
Okay.
I thought you meant you could
In real
physically
life.
buy like Nintendo branded Star Fox 64 sunglasses.
If you're willing to not go for the Nintendo brand, you could just buy sunglasses.
I guess it's true. Thanks for listening to NoClip this week. As always, you can get a hold of us at noclippodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter @noclippodcast, on our website, noclippodcast.com, and on YouTube, which is just NoClip.
What are we playing next time?
Next time, we are playing Bioshock. if this is the game that got JJ into video games, Bioshock is the game that made me think video games were really good.
Yeah!
No, more of that.
Well said.
Yeah.
Why are you guys like handicapped Italians?
Oh, welcome back. Let's do it.